right, hello and welcome. How is everyone doing on what I hope is a fantastic May 18th, 2021, a Tuesday for SeaQuest episode or season 2, episode 6, Playtime. John, how you doing today?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Today was my second son's 5th birthday, so we've had a fun time celebrating, and my oldest son, he had a award ceremony, which, I mean, okay. I sound unimpressed because I am. It sounds horrible. I'm unimpressed because everyone got an award. Like every single person, K through 6, got an award today. And it was stuff like, you know, you are a unhonorable person. You're a hard worker. I'm like, these are meaningless awards. You had to think of something for everyone. But he had fun, and that's really the more important thing here.
Because you had your Mr. Incredible moment.
I did. I literally did. I actually joked about this with my wife. I'm like, he's not graduating. He's moving from the 2nd grade to the 3rd grade.
I'm looking for new ways to celebrate mediocrity.
We really are. It's like, why can't you reward them for being excellent? And everyone says they're getting the spinning wheel of death. YouTube. Let's see if I'm getting it.
Well, I am too, it looks like.
Yeah. It says it has an excellent connection, and yet it is sending nothing. So yeah, let me put this in the chat. Yeah, if you got the spinning wheel of YouTube sucks, come join us on Twitch. Which I really should just memorize my Twitch link, because I don't know it at all. And I really need to.
It's not just Life with Matthew.
Is it? I honestly don't understand how this stuff works. Yeah, there we go. So there's the link over to Twitch. And yeah, apparently it's twitch.tv/LifeWithMatthew, and no spin there. Yeah, there shouldn't be a spin. I have no idea why it is spinning, but here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to stop the stream, going to YouTube, and it should just pick up right away when I tell it to restart. So here we go. Hopefully this thing, at least it's not audio issues for once. Here we go. It says it's streaming. Come on, let's see a happy little picture there. A little happy little bush. No. Saying it stopped working on Twitch. It shouldn't have. It should still be going. I see it still be going.
What?
I see it still
Definitely
going.
not working on you. Definitely not going on YouTube though.
Yeah, it's definitely not going on YouTube. No idea what's up with that, guys. It is working on Twitch. I'm glad it's working on Twitch. Sorry about YouTube. Gosh. What's up with YouTube, man?
I have no idea.
I'm making sure. So yeah, I got it set up to go to the primary YouTube ingest server, whatever that means. And there's my stream key. And I'm not going at a high bit rate either. Like, it's a very low bit rate. So, well, who knows? Who knows? I put the link over to Twitch, so I highly recommend you come see it here. But you know, the hilarious thing is, I'm telling this as if people can see it, but no one can see it if they're on YouTube. They can't hear this recommendation. So I'm going to pin a message over on YouTube so that anyone who joins us later will see this. If you're on YouTube and it's spinning, then come join us on Twitch, where everything is fine. And there's my link. And there is the pin message. All right. Well, it wouldn't be a Life with Matthew stream without technical difficulties, would it?
Exactly what I was thinking.
Oh, hey, it showed up for a second over on YouTube. Look at that. It's not working now, but there for just a second, it's gone from being nothing to us sitting there. So, progress.
That's one way to put it.
Yeah. So, hi to everyone in the chat. How are you guys doing? I did see, I believe it was either Robert Rose Jr. or Robert Green was saying, Wonder Boy, tell us the secret of your powers. Which he didn't say the next line, but it is a Tenacious D song. You remember the band that Jack Black was a part of? I think it was his band. And the next line is, Wonder Boy, won't you come and take us away from the mucky muck man?
Sounds
It's a
like
decent enough song. Yeah, it kind of does sound like Kuroga. And 47 Yorktown saying dolphins and beards, two of the best things about this stream. At least half that sentence is true.
Yes, dolphins are definitely the best part.
Well, I disagree. Robert Green, how you doing tonight? Saying, hello, John. Can't wait for your shows. Last night's show was really good. I enjoyed it. Well, I'm glad you did. It was fun. I thought we'd be able to think of a lot more hypocritical moments, but I was surprised. That there was less people in the chat talking about hypocritical moments. Like, I thought for sure people would be like, oh yeah, and you remember this instance in DS9 or this instance in Heroes or some other sci-fi show. But thankfully, it seems like truly just off-the-wall hypocritical moments are somewhat far and few between in our favorite sci-fi shows.
Which might be why they're our favorite.
Which might be why they're our favorites. Excellent point. Excellent point. Oh gosh, Josh Street, how you doing? Where is Darwin? Boy, he is turning into a dodo, I think is what that emoji is. And I wasn't even late. We start at 9:30 on SeaQuest nights, which I'm glad we did, because since it was Owen's birthday. Oh, by the way, it's my second son's birthday, Owen's birthday. For everyone who was on YouTube and couldn't hear this, I had a great time, and since it was his birthday, we had a party in the evening, and my mom was out of town. Like, there were a couple of people. Her sister wasn't able to come up with her family. And so as a result, we're like, you know what? He didn't get to do anything last year because that was the height of COVID insanity. But we need to do something this year. So we had him invite one of his friends that it's like his best friend from church. And my goodness, he was the hit of the night. Like him being there really made my son's birthday. So I'm glad we did that.
It's great.
It was. And then yes, spinning wheel of death, come to Twitch, yada yada yada. And now we're caught up here saying no spin here from Gamstrom. How you doing today? I hope that you are well, Gamstrom. And Josh Street is saying that Matthew Taserface Shortshanks, I'm an evil Kurogan and I got playback? I got playback. And then he gives me an ID. I'm not familiar with playback. Is that another streaming service?
I think he's talking about the YouTube error that you get when you try to load up your stream.
Oh.
Because when I got a playback ID and I got a bunch of letters and numbers when I tried to load it up on YouTube.
Oh. I see that now. What's going on there? Just tap retry. Connection to server lost. Video is unavailable or something went wrong. Tap retry. Wow.
It just came up for me now on YouTube.
Okay. Weird. Well, hopefully YouTube's getting its act together. I don't know. Hey, yeah, there it is. Hi us over there. I still recommend Twitch because I'm getting some spinning stuff. It's something about Tuesday night. Twitch just doesn't like us doing SeaQuest apparently, or YouTube. Excuse me. Twitch is flawless in streaming. YouTube doesn't like us streaming on Tuesday nights.
Just one more thing to add to the list about YouTube.
I know. It's so weird because, like, I wish Twitch would grab some of the things from YouTube and kind of incorporate them. Things like being able to do some playback so you can pause it, come back a little bit later and resume it where you left off in the middle of a live stream, or chat history. So you join in the middle of a live stream and you have like the past hour's worth of chat just sitting there. But unfortunately, they don't have those things. And YouTube, I wish YouTube would just get its act together. It is the #1 streaming company in the world, the galaxy, the universe, the multiverse. I wouldn't be surprised if Google knows the secret of the multiverse. And yet they can't do simple things like this. I don't know. Maybe something to do with multi-streaming, says Bradley. So actually, the way I do multi-streaming, as far as YouTube is aware, I'm streaming directly to them. Within OBS Studio, I have a plugin that lets me double my bandwidth usage and send the exact same information over to Twitch, which I have the bandwidth set low enough where this isn't even touching my available bandwidth. Like, I have bandwidth to spare for this. So each one is slightly less quality than I would typically like to do, but it's still it's good enough for 1080p, which is all any of us are going to be doing anyway. I very much doubt there's someone with 4K out there who's really annoyed that I'm not broadcasting this in 4K.
I'm sure that person will leave you I'm sure that person will find you and leave you a nasty message.
Yeah, exactly. Impeachment article number 600 or something. Not caring about your 4K audience.
Exactly.
But the funny thing about it is, in all honesty, most people consume their live streams on a cellular device. And so as long as you're on a cell phone, you actually don't get the benefit of 4K. You can drop that puppy down to 720p and still have a very good resolution. It's only when you have really big screens that you need to worry about 4K and stuff. But thankfully, it is working on Twitch. So guys, just watch it on Twitch. If you happen to have it working over on YouTube right now. Because for me, it just went back to that playback error ID, which I think is a new ID than the one I got last time. So yay. And Bradley's saying that my stream on YouTube is completely dead. Yeah, I don't know. I got it streaming there. It's annoying because in my YouTube studio, it says I have an excellent connection. That everything is perfect as far as it cares. If I look at my stream health, it says excellent, stream is healthy, audio is coming in fine, video is coming in fine, but for whatever reason, nothing, no video whatsoever. So whatever.
I'm sure this comes as a shock that YouTube might be incorrect about something, but we'll just have to deal with it.
Yeah. And Josh is saying YouTube hates people streaming to both YouTube and Twitch, so they might kill my stream on YouTube. See, it's weird because they don't do this on Mondays, because I stream the virtual pub over to Twitch on Mondays also. So, I mean, just one more reason to hang out on Twitch, people. It's going to work for you, so, so whatever. We're not going to worry about YouTube. If it starts working, it starts working. If it never works, it never works. We're not going to fret. So let's go ahead and jump into this, because I know people only come here for the technical difficulties, but I like to do a stream on other things too. So let's move ahead, guys. The way this works, and unfortunately I won't be able to pin this because I'm not over on YouTube, but I will try to drop this into the chat every 5 to 10 minutes until I forget in 5 or 10 minutes. But this is the link to the sci2.be, and what this does is it lets us all sync up our watch time. So as long as you're watching it right now with John DiMarco and myself, you can see this video and you'll be able to watch the entire thing and be exactly synced up where we're talking about, hopefully plus or minus a few seconds, and enjoying our lovely commentary as we go along. If you're in the future, you missed the stream and you weren't able to join us, well, we're sorry we missed you, but by all means, leave a comment. Let us know what you thought about the stream. But the good news is you can still watch it. You just can't use the link I put in the chat. What you have to do is sign up for a free account over at peacocktv.com, and you can watch all 3 seasons right now of SeaQuest DSV 2032. I think it is 2035.
Yes, 2032 is the last season.
2032 is the last season. So you can see all 3 seasons of SeaQuest right now if you're viewing this at some point in the future and you want to watch it. For everyone else, let's say you are watching on your phone. As I was just saying, most people consume live stream on their phones. If you're one of those people and you can't watch this live with us, we got you covered. Down here in this last box, we have the clip shows. So every 5 seconds, I grab a clip from the stream and you're going to see it right there below us, so that even though you can't see it live, at least you get a visual reference for what's going on and why we're chuckling at some random moment. Usually Piccolo just has like these hilarious expressions.
Yep.
So let's go ahead and get started. And then Josh is saying that we can only take my word, but since I am a Kurogan, we can only trust you as far as we can throw you, and that isn't very far. It's very true. It's kind of like what Harry Mudd did with Norm. You know, everything I say is a lie. I'm lying to you. Oh, well, crap. That does not compute. It's true. You can't trust a Kurogan, but, you know, take it or leave it, I guess. So once again, anyone joining us, this is the link to SciTube. Head over there if you can. We're going to get this started. I'll give you a 5 countdown. Let's do this. 5, 4, 3-ish, 2, 1, and hit that play button, everyone, and hopefully you are synced up.
Speaking of funny expressions.
Exactly. Piccolo making a little funny face as he dances. So they're doing some 60s kind of music, go-go dancing, which, you know, Batman danced like this in the 60s. There was an episode of Get Smart where he in 99 had to dance like this. It was just something that happened. But Lewis is quite confused why the girls are in cages. And Piccolo's like, well, do I really have to explain this for you? Girls in cages? And unfortunately, I'm kind of with Lewis on this one. I never got the girls in cages dancing thing. Like, maybe this is an adult club thing. If you went to an adult club, it would be more interesting. And so you're just supposed to get the reference, but I don't get it. But he does point out, you know, if at the very least you don't get why they're in short skirts, then I can't help you out. And Lewis says, well, I at least get why they're in short skirts.
Meanwhile, Dagwood is just very confused by everything.
And it's true. And Piccolo tries to call Lewis out, like, well, you know, maybe that's the reason why you can't get a girlfriend, because you spend all your time with computers talking to fish. And Dagwood's like, no, it's true. Dolphins aren't fish. They're mammals, according to my encyclopedia.
And now the dancing video's on in the bridge.
Yeah, Piccolo felt like it was a little too boring up on the bridge. So he's routing the dancing over to the bridge view screen. And, you know, fortunately, he doesn't get in big trouble. Ford's just like, oh, you're having fun, Piccolo? You know, maybe I thought you'd like a blast from the past. And you know, Ford says, knock it off or else you're going to get a blast from the present. And he shuts it off. But apparently it was wired into the whole ship power. All power is off now. And like everything's wrong. They're saying that their readings have gone completely crazy. It's like they've gone 100% in the wrong direction. Like they've done a complete 180. And there's some sort of disturbance ahead of them. Some waveling spatial disturbance underwater. And wisely, Ford says full stop. You know, oftentimes they just go full speed ahead, darn the torpedoes, but they actually say, yeah, you know what, maybe this is a stopping moment.
Yeah, I think he's right.
Now, this is the only part of this episode that stretches my suspension of disbelief. O'Neill, he gets hears this beep, 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 and he goes, that's weird. I think this is something called Morse code. And I think every Navy personnel, even the far-off future of 2019 now, would have immediately recognized Morse code.
Yeah, I think so.
And there's some ethereal girl voice calling out to them from the disturbance. Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. I mean, help me. Help me, Bridger. You're my only hope. Help me. And much like the Doctor, Bridger can't sit still when children cry. He has to go help.
Even though Ford's not too sure about this.
Which, you know,
I blame him.
Yeah, I got it with Ford on this one. Like, creepy ethereal voice calling from this void. I'm not sure if I want to respond to that. But they go through and nothing's behind them. It's like the instruments are malfunctioning, but there's no air, there's no temperature, there's nothing behind them. They pull up the aft view, and it's just this swirling mass, you know, kind of like the DS9 wormhole, except less impressive.
Mm-hmm. By the way, welcome Robert Rose Jr. Glad you could join us.
And I see you are commenting from YouTube. Robert, if you're not getting the video, I don't know what's going on there. YouTube says everything's fine, but come join us over in Twitch. I left a link to Twitch over in the chat. I pinned a message. And apparently where they came from doesn't exist anymore. It's just gone. There's no way to turn around and come back. So Bridger says steady as she goes, which is pretty much the only choice they have at the moment. And then we get the wonderful, wonderful theme.
Listen to it all day.
Now, I really enjoyed the video you did where, what you took, was it TNG or?
I took the theme from the Orville and put over the intro for SeaQuest.
That's what it was. Which is another just wonderful piece of music. In fact, did John Derby make that one too?
I think John Debney works on the Orville, but I think somebody else did the theme.
Okay. I would not have been surprised if he had some slight hand in the music. And Josh is saying that I should be fired out of torpedo tube. Come now. And what was
Ouch.
that? What was that called? The Badusi? What, the Batman doing the go-go dance? I don't remember what that was called.
Yeah, it was the Batusi.
Batusi. Bradley saying that the cages were used to keep the girls safe from being touched by the people. And Kuroga? Maybe.
Sounds legit.
But in the Kuroga Navy, they know what Morse code was since they still don't know how to use flag signals. Well, you know, flag signals don't work very well underwater. The Turtistani Navy tried unsuccessfully for decades to perfect flag waving underwater, but all it did is made them lose an embarrassing amount of people due to drowning and hypothermia.
course, I was going to say the Kurogan Navy doesn't really need Morse code because the Kurogan Navy consists of a bunch of sunken ships.
They worked at the time. It's just our glorious emperor insists on launching every boat himself.
Yeah, straight to the bottom.
So we got our landing party heading to shore, consisting of what, Hendrix, the lieutenant's whose name I still don't know who the lieutenant's name is.
His name is Brody, and the lady is named Henderson.
I said Hendrix, didn't I? Henderson,
Yes.
Brody, Piccolo, and I missed the last one.
I think Ortiz.
Oh yes, that's who it was. That's who it was. And you know, we actually got B'Elanna Troy having a legitimate helpful moment in this episode, where she was saying she's not getting any sort of sense from the distress. Like, she hears the fear in the voice, but she doesn't sense any fear, which is kind of interesting. They're going with the Dana Troy method of sensing things. That it doesn't matter how far she is away from you, as long as she has an active comm link, she has a mental connection over that comm link, apparently. So likewise with B'Elanna Troy, she just senses nothing. She can hear the scared in the voice, but she can't feel that there's any fear or anything coming from this voice. And the landing party is being ambushed by some sort of flying spinning top toy. But thankfully, they all know how to roll, because the rolling definitely helps.
Definitely.
And Bradley's saying, I don't think writing a name on the side of a cardboard box counts as a ship. You say that, but I have literally sailed a cardboard boat before quite successfully.
Explains a lot about the Kurogan Navy.
It works quite well. We had the hardest time scuttling that ship because it was made too well. Now, I don't get that reference from Piccolo. Tuesday's child is full of grace, so it must be Wednesday.
Yeah, I don't know either. And that's something that they got opera singing.
And Piccolo points out quite accurately that it seems like they're going into a dangerous situation because anyone who listens to this kind of music must be dangerous. And I think he's spot on. You gotta be careful with anyone who listens to that sort of classical music. Like, you expect them to be stroking a cat when you go in, have several minions who are all dressed the same. And Josh, yes, this is that episode. I honestly wish I had a room like this in my house. Not with the phonograph, but just like, this is a huge room that they have laid out very well. Like, it's the very definition of an old-fashioned drawing room or something. You'd have guests come in. I could stand with better wallpaper, though. So Piccolo touches it, and instead of it being the phonograph, now it's a newspaper. And it's like 2215. It's way in the future.
And guess what? It looks like California seceded from the United States.
They beat Texas to it. but people don't want them back. Like California is saying they want to rejoin the union, but the rest of the states are like, yeah, you know what? We don't want you. You're weird enough. Which, again, SeaQuest pretty accurately reflecting modern politics. We don't want all the Californians. California doesn't want the Californians. So they are now 200 years before where they should be. 250 years, something like that. See, Josh is saying, it's funny, the Kurogan ship that wasn't supposed to flout was the only Kurogan ship that couldn't be sunk. Or wasn't supposed to float. Did I just... Yeah, it's supposed to be float. Okay. I wasn't sure if it was misspelled or if I misread it. Both were very strong possibilities. And Josh is saying SG-1 came after SeaQuest, so it would be SG-1 SeaQuest. True. And this is that's why this show reminds me of Stargate SG-1 so much. It came after this. Well, you know, there's certain truths to sci-fi shows that are they're going to overlap each other. Although I often wonder if this show didn't rely heavily on the influence of Star Trek.
I think that's a safe bet. Especially in episodes like this one.
Yeah. And you know, I think Star Trek was pretty okay with it.
Yeah.
The way they referenced SeaQuest in that episode. And here we have even more evidence of SeaQuest knowing the future. They've come and found this computer, and the computer's the one that's crying out for help. And they find out that the thing that went down is there was a plague outbreak. And people showed up in these, you know, hazmat suits and kidnapped them. Which is exactly what happened in China when the most recent pandemic broke out. You know, the men in the hazmat suits would show up and you'd be taken away and quite gone. Of course, this happened in 2185, so they were, you know, 160 some odd years off.
There's a small difference.
Yeah. But unfortunately, they were not able to actually come up with a cure. That there was a natural immunity, but you know, they were never able to figure out why they had the natural immunity and never able to replicate that natural immunity. Which, very interesting. In theory, there is 1% of the population who is naturally immune to any sickness out there. So no matter how bad a plague is, in theory, you would always be able to count on 1% of the population surviving.
Of course, then you have to worry about the after effects of the breakdown of society.
You do. You definitely do. And you also have to worry about the loss of the genetic diversity.
Mm-hmm.
And Lewis he's geeking out big time about this computer. He's saying, you know, this is like a work of art. And B'Elanna Troy, the eternal downcast, you know, she's like, well, art is beautiful, which, you know, shut up, woman. Art is also subjective. So don't be like, well, this isn't art because it's not beautiful. Well, come on. Not everyone likes modern art. Some people think it's just trash in their yard. Yeah, me too. But there's some people who really think it's amazing, and to them it's art, so good for them. They can keep it in their yard, or even better yet, inside a museum where you have to pay to see it.
Yeah, that way I don't have to look at it.
Exactly. But the issue going on here is that this is the last active terminal for all of this thing called census, which is some sort of centralized database that it used to span the globe and take care of all of humanity's problems. And now this is the last terminal left. But it is the source of the distress call. Meanwhile, they're still trying to figure out what's going on with this disturbance behind them, this nothingness behind them. So to come up with a possible solution, they're going to blow it up. Because, solid plan. But the theory is maybe there's something wrong with their sensors. So if they send out a torpedo and have it detonate, then the feedback, the shock wave that you'd get it within the water would register. Like they'd be able to feel the shock wave from the water. So it's far enough out such that the SeaQuest won't be damaged, but close enough such that they'll at least rock a little bit in the water. Because so far they've sent probes into it and everything just disappears. As soon as it hits the disturbance, everything's gone, and he can't accept that as truth. They do a countdown and nothing. No impact, no rocking. It's just gone. But yes, Robert Rose Jr., I am afraid you have the wrong Piccolo. He cannot use his special beam cannon. Neither is he green. And here we see, world domination. And every boy is going to want this game. And the other boy takes off his hat, and it's a girl. So will girls. Everyone enjoys this game. World domination. And Lewis looks like he's holding a Game Boy.
I love how the peace signs blow up. That's great.
And of course, Balana Troy doesn't get the attraction in the game. But see, look at that. That is definitely the original Game Boy, that big, bulky, gray system. But he can't get any closer in the timeline. Like every time he gets within the teens of the current century, something's blocking the system. He can only get old data out of the database. So he thinks maybe the database is corrupted or something. He's not sure. So he gets the absolute most recent anything he can out of the database. And it's a bunch of kids. And it turns out that all of them were exactly 8 pounds, 2 ounces. And all of them have an intelligence factor of over 6.9. But they were all genetically grown. So you don't need to worry about dating. You don't need to worry about mating. You can just have the kids straight from census computer. And Robert, it may very well have been M5's ancestor. Bradley Briggs is saying, saying that too many times, Matthew, you can get canceled by YouTube and Twitch for discrimination. Saying what? That would be fun for boys and girls?
Yeah, probably some racist or sexist thing you said. There's many possibilities.
The possibilities are... What was it? The shut up woman one? Hey,
could be it.
If it had been a guy, I would have said, shut up, man. Come on, man.
And now we've got 2 giant mech suits wandering around the city.
Which they kind of look like the mechs from a game called Mech Warrior. I'm not sure if you ever played that game, but it wasn't quite this 3D the way I played it. It was more like Nintendo or Super Nintendo graphics. But it was definitely, you could like pick your mech and build it up add-on Gatling guns, missile launchers. It's kind of like Starship Creator.
Nice.
Except with battle mechs. And same thing, like you had to go on missions, earn money. I sucked at it so much. Like my battle mech would always blow up. And then I'd be just a little guy, and your little guy would be running for his life, and all the mechs would be like gunning you down. You're screwed. It was Now, Josh wants to know, could a species come back if the 1% that survived the population was a population that hated each other? I think that I think a man and a woman who maybe hated each other beforehand might find themselves less antagonistic after surviving a 99%, extinction rate. Now, if it was 1% all male, that would be a little more difficult.
Yeah.
I'm not saying there wouldn't be any sort of activity. I'm just saying it wouldn't have any tangible reproductive results. And Josh is saying that, yes, it was the original Game Boy, and it had Tetris in the game slot. I didn't notice that it had Tetris, but that would be that'd be quite funny. But they just can't get away from these mechs. The mechs are chasing them. They're shooting at them. Henderson somehow survived having a scaffolding fall on her.
It just fell on her a little bit.
Yes, just a little bit. And Bradley saying, just talking about what I said earlier about a woman needing to be quiet because she was being prejudiced on art. It was getting his messages blocked. Are they really, Bradley? Surely not.
Wow.
Surely not. You're pulling my leg.
Check on that.
So Brody isn't convinced that the mechs are actually shooting at them. He's noticing that the shots are going way too high. But he thinks that them being caught up in this is just kind of coincidental. And Lewis is just completely geeking out still. He's just raving about how amazing this is. And at the same time, somehow, it's so simple that it's so advanced and yet so simple. It goes so far beyond anything he could conceptualize about computings. It is, in fact, perfect. And finally, the computer speaks up. She's like, well, if you got questions, maybe you can just ask me about them. But she's not convinced that Lewis will have the intelligence to understand her technology. But the computer knows everything about them. Knows that they're from SeaQuest, knows the launch date of the SeaQuest, which was something 2019, is aware of its entire crew manifest, their birth dates, their commendations, just everything. Except she gets Lewis's name wrong for some reason, but, can't be perfect. Calls him Lucas. Don't know what's up with that.
Yeah, that's weird.
And Lewis is saying, well, how did we get here? And the computer responds with, Lieutenant Ortiz directed his craft toward this signal. And Lewis is like, no, how did we get to this time? And the computer explains that she brought them to the future. And she believes that because the SeaQuest is pre-census, that the SeaQuest was uniquely able to deal with the situation, the problem at hand, that she needs someone who can save her babies, her children. And John, did you have any messages blocked?
No, I didn't see any. No.
Oh, okay, yeah, I do see it over here. Uh, but it wasn't because you were talking about this. It was because I guess I have a language filter on, maybe. But you're saying, and I'll allow that. You're fine, man. Apparently, I added a permitted term up their backside. But Bradley was saying that if one viewer could hear that and have a stick up their backside and report you. It's true, and unfortunately, no matter how big you get, there's no review process. Like there's nothing like the power of anonymity to encourage the abuse of a system. And they finally do find two human beings amongst everything. And they keep calling out to them and they don't respond. So Brody and Ortiz both try to reach out and touch these people like they're on a phone commercial or something. And a gel appears around them and knocks them out. And I'm kind of unimpressed with these mechs. Like they come around and they get ready to shoot each other. And they are like the slowest moving mechs here. Because here comes a third one. And it's Lewis. Lewis is piloting a mech. And just having the time of his life. But they are so slow moving. Like, I think for the next minute and a half here, we are going to watch them step forward and get their guns ready. Like, literally, you're going to see the same shot from 5 different angles of them pulling up a cannon and getting it ready and cocking the gun and bringing out the missile launchers, and no one shoots. And I'm like, well, this makes no sense. Like, why wouldn't they be shooting so quickly? And I realized it's because this isn't a virtual game. This is a literal, 5-story tall mech. That takes some time to make. So of course they're going to move slowly because the computer doesn't want to be making these mechs all the time.
That's a good point.
But Lewis does finally get a shot off. And in fact, he gets 2 shots off, taking out both of these other mechs. Because people way in the future, they just can't hold a candle on, modern gamers, obviously. Makes perfect sense.
Obviously.
Oh gosh, I wonder how many things have been blocked, and I never knew because I didn't have the Twitch chat up. So it's like, is everyone going to try to date her throughout this season?
Not everyone.
So, she puts her hand on his head and it's like, you're kind of warm. And he makes a comment, well, take your hand away and I'll cool off. Kind of embarrassed that, she's she's touching him. And Keck44, how are you doing today? I don't think I've seen you around in these parts before. If you are here on YouTube, which I see you are, but if YouTube is still just having problems, which it probably is, I don't know what's up with them today, we're also streaming over on Twitch. So you might want to check out that link that we've pinned to the chat and come join us on Twitch, because despite everything looking fine on YouTube's end, it's not streaming. Which you can't see. I keep forgetting you can't see this. Sorry, I'm writing messages to him real quick.
Balana Troy is saying that she thinks this teenage girl that they found may have never seen another human being before.
And they're realizing that these two people who have never seen each other before view the computer as their mother or their family. And he explains, and this is, again, so accurate for the modern society, our current political situation, our current global situation. After the plague, Lewis is saying that people were afraid to see each other in person, so they began just to view each other digitally through view screens, and everything was all done online, distanced away from each other. And that's why we saw the video about forget dating and forget mating, because people were terrified of being physically near each other. And unfortunately, you know, the hatcheries that we saw, they've all been destroyed by the games. And the only way, like this last station, the last census station, it found the one hatchery that was left and found 2 embryos that were still alive and nurtured them and brought them to fruition. And yet for some reason, they still insisted on being distanced from each other, even though they would have been born in the same hatchery. But it's all right on. Go on.
Sorry. I was reading a comment that Bradley said the YouTube isn't working is a Matthew's secret to getting more Twitch viewers. That's
clearly
right.
Clearly that's what it is. And it looks like it's finally working over there. Congratulations, YouTube. Welcome to the party. We'll see how long it lasts. And YouTube, wow. Lewis is in charge of finding out some way to get back to the past. Like Marty McFly. So they brought this guy and this girl back to the SeaQuest, and they are kind of learning to interact, not necessarily with people, but with who else?
Darwin.
But Darwin.
We're thinking earlier that he hadn't showed up yet.
Yeah.
As usual, Darwin's the key.
Frankly, I wouldn't be surprised if Darwin, who, remember, is precogniscient, he can see the future, somehow worked to arrange this station, this last census terminal, to be preserved so that it would bring them to the future to save humanity.
I think that's very likely.
Oh, it's probably exactly what happened. Darwin is way overpowered in this show.
Or it's exactly enough power to save the world.
So while they're playing, the guy brushes his hand against the girl. And as any proper modern feminist, she reacts very negatively to this and says, "Don't touch me," and runs off. And thankfully, as any modern feminist as well, the guy immediately apologizes for his unwanted physical contact. Now, this is where it strays a little bit from reality. By apologizing, the girl holds his hand. So, I mean, in real life, the girl wouldn't hold your hand. It doesn't matter how much you apologize. You're in deep trouble, I promise.
Yes, Matthew knows this from personal experience, I imagine.
There is no amount of apology that will make things right. So Lewis is explaining something kind of wonky, but he's explaining that they can't bring the kids back with them. And he's explaining that there's some theories about time that we need to understand. And one of the leading theories about time is that it forms this kind of Mobius strip parabola, which not what I'm calling it. It's what they call it in the show. I don't think it makes sense to call it a parabola, but whatever. But he's saying like time kind of loops back on itself. And so if they take these kids away from their present to our present, then like it won't work because our past can't exist without their future being worked out. So kind of making the case that this is Adam and Eve we're looking at right now. And that what they're observing right now is in fact the end of time. And that only by ensuring that they have a future will our past work out. And somehow we got to get these two kids to procreate so that we will have a future. And Bradley Briggs points out that it starts working after he figures out the secret. That's not suspicious at all. Yeah, that's a crazy coincidence, right?
Yeah, sure it is.
So they're kind of hoping like maybe this will work out. They're talking to each other. They're clean. They're well fed. But you know, maybe things are moving forward. But unfortunately, they've seen nothing. Like there's still nothing beyond the SeaQuest. And like, why isn't it working? And then the two kids just wander off. They're gone. And it's because they found game terminal 15, and instead of interacting with each other, they've returned to the video games. Because everyone knows video games are like the bane of existence. That you would sooner give up the opportunity of physically interacting with an attractive young lady if you could play a video game instead. Or a handsome young man. I mean, she's rejecting him too. Now, this computer wants Lewis to do something. And we find out that what she wants him to do is remove the 3 blue rods underneath the terminal. And what that will do is it will destroy this last terminal. And Lewis doesn't like that. He's like, no, it's too much. Everything that you are. I can't do this. So why? Why do you have to shut down? And she says she has to do it for the children. It's all for the children. And Lewis is pointing out, hey, if they have questions, if they need help, they could come. They would need to come to you. But instead, the computer's saying no. They just gotta figure it out on their own. So it's not like she could just delete the video games and be there as a resource. No, they have to completely destroy her so there's no more terminals. Everything is gone. Josh is saying, give a kid a game from when the games, or from the 70s or 80s, they would cry it didn't have the graphics they want. And saying this way, when they need to have kids of their own, it wouldn't be that hard if they didn't grow up thinking they're siblings. Not everyone is like Habsburg and cousin marrying. I think I may have missed a comment.
Yeah, I didn't catch all of it.
But Josh is saying that this doesn't make any sense. The past is always there. It's just those kids wouldn't be there. Well, they would be eggs. Yeah, they didn't do the best part explaining this, but they're trying to say that they're at the end of time And by these two people having children, it's going to bring them all the way back to the beginning of time. Which in itself doesn't make sense, because if you go from, when I would argue this show is coming from the stance, the evolutionary stance, it's not like the beginning of time would have been the Big Bang. And so if these people go back to the beginning of time, all that's going to happen is they die. So, I mean, so it would have to be like they come back to the beginning of humanity's time, which again doesn't make sense. So it's really talking more about like a young Earth model, which is something I can certainly support. But the idea being that time, they basically are at the end, and that everything's just going to jump to the beginning here in a second.
Yeah, I haven't thought about that before, but yeah, like for the logic of this episode to work, it must mean that the end of time means the end of humanity, which wouldn't really fit with an evolutionary mindset. They would say just the Earth would just keep going or whatever without people on it.
Yeah. But because Lewis pulled out the 3 blue rods, all of a sudden the disturbance is gone. They can read the ocean again on their sensors. Everything is where it should be. And Lewis points out, like, it's kind of depressing that this is the way it's going to be. That we now know how the world turns out. And, Bridger says, we don't know it. This is simply a way that it could be. Maybe we can change it. And then we get some music that I swear sounds a lot like the music from Back to the Future. The kind of main theme.
Maybe. Meanwhile, Piccolo's got some penguins.
He does. He's just talking about how they're flightless birds with webbed feet and flippers instead of wings. And while he has gills, the penguins can hold their breath for 20 minutes, which is pretty impressive. And that's it. That is this week's episode. Well, aside from my usual technical problems, how was this episode for you, John?
I thought it was fun for the most part, although some of the logic doesn't seem to make sense to me, especially the time with time being like a big loop. When I first saw that, I thought that was bizarre. I still think it's kind of a weird idea.
It is, and I'm trying to think, like, how could they have fixed it such that, such that the past still wasn't there, that somehow they had to get these kids together to ensure their past. And gosh, I got nothing off the top of my head. I could sooner understand the last census, like putting up a block, and until things are ensured that the human race will move forward, that she's put up this destructive barrier in front of the time portal. But just time not being there, that's...
They're almost implying that time is sentient, and it knows that they can't go back until they do what they have to do in the future.
Yeah. It was almost like the City on the Edge of Forever episode, where, everything was gone, but that made sense because they had gone to the past and messed up history, so they had to go fix history. But going to the future and messing up the past, I don't know. It's weird. I don't have an easy fix. I usually have some idea where I'm like, oh, they could have tweaked it this small bit, but this time I got nothing. I can't think of a time theory that would justify this, except for it being a young Earth and them being Adam and Eve.
Could be. Well, on the upside, Darwin, even though he had a relatively small role, it was a very important one as well.
Yeah. But it was still important.
Exactly.
Yeah, except for the logical gap, how did you enjoy the episode?
I mean, I thought it was enjoyable, like if you don't think about it too hard.
Yeah.
There are a lot of things that we could see, especially now, that are to some degree coming true. And another example is SeaQuest predicting things that hadn't quite happened yet.
Right? I mean, the global pandemic, which admittedly theirs is significantly worse. Like they're saying it literally had a 99% mortality rate. And it was funny that they made a comment about how the Earth's population dipped below 8 billion, which isn't funny because, mass genocide is funny. It was funny because that was like such an insanely huge number in 1994. Like the idea that the human population was approaching, I think it was 6 billion at the time, was like, wow, this is a huge milestone. And the idea that we'd hit 8 billion, it would take us hundreds of years, when I think we hit 8 billion not too long ago in terms of world population.
I don't know.
Let's see. When did the world hit 8? Okay, I typed in when did the world hit, and Google finished 8 billion for me. So
it's a little scary.
It really is.
They're listening.
They always are. It's weird. Let's see. World population milestones went unnoticed until the 20th century, since there's no global blah blah blah. Okay, fine enough. Okay, 7 billion is what the most recent one was, and that was in March 2012. So we've hit, so 8 billion is still off in the future some point. Okay. And then 6 billion was 1999. So we gained 1 billion in world population in 12 years. So maybe 8 billion people should be, frankly, in a year now.
Could be, yeah.
And Josh is saying, oh, maybe if I just read the chats. Josh is saying we're almost at 8 billion. But that will drop in about 20 to 30 years. Very true, Josh. One, because we got a huge aging demographic, which is honestly one of the reasons why the modern pandemic was so dangerous, because our demographic is very much aging, and it's extremely more dangerous for the aged. But two, the young people, they don't want to have kids. It is, especially the young ladies, they view children as something to do much later in life. That first you have your college, you have your career, and then, in your 30s, that's when you start thinking about kids. And at that point, it's more like 1, maybe 2, which keeps the population at a, frankly, declining rate. It's not really set up for growth. So yeah, we probably will see, unless, societal trends change, we'll see kind of a sharp decrease in the next couple decades.
Because now you get people saying that they don't want to have kids because they're worried about climate change, of all things.
Yeah, which, it's disappointing. We got a lot of stuff going on in our modern education system that is frankly telling people that they should feel guilty simply because they exist. That either because of the color of your skin, you should feel bad, either because, you're being oppressed or you are the oppressor, but either way, you need to feel bad, or simply because you exist. Your existence is somehow, negatively impacting the planet. No matter what you do, you need to feel guilty. You need to feel ashamed. And it's sad that we're burdening people with this. Like, instead of actually attacking the social and political issues, all we do are making people hate themselves. And that's not a good way to get solutions. And now Twitch isn't working? I don't know what's up with that.
That's weird.
Are you sure it's not working? I believe you. I just don't want to believe you. Let's see. It's working for me over there. I just pulled it up and everything looks fine. But Robert's saying the same. He had to switch back my... I don't get it. So it's looking good on my end. On both, finally. But if it's not working for you, I'm not calling you liars. I believe you. But no, talking about them actually predicting stuff right. gosh, I mean, not just the fact that they predict a pandemic that would, impact us so severely, but also they correctly guessed the response, the long-term response, where people would be like, no, let's keep our distance and not see each other in person. Instead, we're going to switch everything to video chats. I thought that was pretty amazing that they hit that nail on the head. That's such a shot in the dark. But clearly someone thought like, hey, imagine you survived. You're one of the, like, let's assume there's 8 billion people in the world. So you have what, 800 million? Is that 1% or 800,000? What's 1% of a billion?
What was that? 80 million.
Okay, we'll go with that. So you're one of the 80 million people that have survived. You would definitely, and the people that survived are like extremely scarred. I would understand the reluctance. Like someone really sat down and thought about this, and kudos to them for just nailing that on the head. So all in all, I thought it was a decent episode. It was an interesting plot point. I certainly enjoy the kind of out there idea of going to the future and being stuck there. I definitely enjoy the look at the plague and the fallout and all that stuff. Yeah, it was weird. It was weird that they had to get them to shack up so that they could get back to the past. But you know what? Still a fun episode.
Yeah, that was a good one.
It was. Well, John, final thoughts about this week's episode.
I don't think we pretty much covered it, but the interesting premise. It wasn't just some random time anomaly. It was specifically created by the computer, bringing to the future.
Yeah,
so it's slightly less contrived than when the Enterprise is flying around. They run into this random thing.
Right.
But yeah,
we went too fast around the sun. We randomly just did it. Like, remember the one episode of TOS where they're just like, we decided to time travel because we have that technology on hand.
It's perfectly safe.
Yeah. That was an interesting one where they're just like, so we've returned to the time of 1967 where the American government is about to launch a space shuttle or something. Anyway. It did have some consistency, and they even did a good job of making sure that there was a reason they were specifically picked. That it wasn't just some fluke, but that the computer had a logical, sound reason for having them come. And it was specifically to get Lewis there because he would be like the only one willing to take the steps to do this. Or at least one of the few ones.
Yes, I'm sure Darwin's presence was an important factor as well.
Well, he's the one that got the guy and the girl to be comfortable near each other.
Exactly.
So I guess other people would have done what Lewis did, but without the unique skills of everyone aboard the SeaQuest finding these two people, willing to bring them together, wanting to help them, and being able to get Lewis into the position to disable the census device, none of it would have worked. And so it was a very specific and deliberate reason they were chosen instead of, like you said, John, just a random fluke of the universe hurtling them to the future. But yeah, I enjoyed it, and I'm glad y'all guys did too. So everyone, thanks for hanging out with John and I tonight on a interesting SeaQuest and interesting YouTube experience. Not sure what's up with that. I'll try and find out, guys. I wish I knew what was the difference about Monday and Tuesday, because for the past 2 weeks, Tuesday has just crapped out on us on YouTube, whereas Monday has been just fine on the virtual pub. So we'll try and figure it out. At least there weren't any audio issues today.
Yeah.
That I know of. Yeah. Exactly.
And just like that, I can't hear you.
It's because I muted it. I didn't feel right without my audio not working.
It's hard to tell.
Exactly. Yeah, it felt wrong to me. I felt like I needed to end the stream with at least one audio problem. But guys, I do want to thank you so much for joining John tonight on our weekly adventures in SeaQuest, and we look forward to next week as you join us again for episode 7, whatever that name is.
Night.
Thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please be sure to hit that like button and share it with your friends. If you haven't subscribed yet, I hope you will, and be sure to hit that bell icon to be notified of all the updates I do on this channel. If you want to support the work I'm doing here, then I hope you'll consider becoming one of my Patreons, where you'll get early access to all kinds of videos. And until the next time, may the Lord bless you and keep you. May he cause his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Amen.